Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is welcoming, so welcome. This is the business meeting for SAU 48. There's a total of 7 of 9 districts present, so we do have a quorum. And the first thing we'll do is go around the tables and introduce ourselves. Start here. I'm Danny DeRoches. I represent the Campton School Board.
Mark Halloran, Superintendent of Schools.
Kyla Welch, Assistant Superintendent.
John Francis, Facilities.
Roger Scarpins from me.
Sam Brickley, I'm a Holderness resident on the high school board.
And Ross, your business administrator.
Kim DeSavo, Director of Student Services.
Mike Fergal, Waterville Valley Chair.
Michael Watto, Plymouth Elementary.
Donna Hills, Campton.
Captain Hahn, actually rep on the Penny Baker Board.
Phil Lamoureux, Plymouth Elementary.
Kelly Weiser, Campton.
Barry Vandermoor, Thornton Chair.
Bonnie Acton, Holderness resident on Penny Baker Board. Ethel Gates, Assistant Superintendent.
Amanda Gilbert, Campton.
Kelly Legacy, Plymouth Elementary. Maureen Ebner, Plymouth for the high school board.
Carolyn Mello, Holderness Chair.
Amy Lee, Plymouth Elementary Chair.
Christy Duras, Thornton resident for Penny Baker Board.
Lynn Davis, Secretary.
There you go. Anything on the recognition?
We will be recognizing Ethel Gades later in the meeting. This is her last spring meeting with us, so, but we will talk about Ethel a little bit later. Yes, at this point, for the moment, I will take nominations for chair of the SAU. This happens at this meeting once a year, and we elect the 4 officers for the coming year. So the floor is open for nominations to be chair.
Are the 4 officers who are currently serving, are they interested in serving again this next year?
My understanding is yes, but you certainly can respond.
Yes.
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 And we'll say yes for Lisa because she's not here.
She seems to like it.
I would move to nominate all existing officers for the same positions for the upcoming year.
So
Second.
there's a motion and a second to move the slate as posted. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous vote. It's all yours, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, minutes of December 13th, 2018. I believe there's regular set and a non-public set of minutes there. Are there any errors, omissions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
So moved.
We have a second?
Oh, second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor manifest by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
The abstentions, want to put your hands up so Lynn can grab them? Put one down.
Just folks who weren't at the meeting.
Just represents people that were not at the last meeting, I take it.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley was there, so.
Explanation of the SAU weighted and regular vote. I believe there's a handout for you, but the easiest way to explain it is the typical fashion that we run in is every district that has a school building in it, as part of SAU 48, receives 3 votes. The only district that we have that does not have a school building in it is Ellsworth, which receives 1 vote. Call of the majority of the board can put us into a weighted vote scenario, and the easiest way to explain that is for every 16 students in average daily membership at the end of June of last year, you would receive 1 vote for every 16 students. We make a joke out of it that years ago somebody did it just to see how it worked. But I go back a little bit further, and I think when we brought the special ed director and wrapped it into the SAU office, that was one time it was brought to fruition. Either are there any questions on that, or? Okay. Next item is privilege of the floor. Any members of the public, if anyone sees any of them, had any concerns or on the agenda items, or anything to bring up, or any members sitting here if you want to bring something up. Seeing nothing, we'll move on to the treasurer's report. That should be in your packet as well. I don't know if it's Sam's or Mark or... Sam?
Sure, in the report is the treasurer's report through last week. And the question that we always get, so I'll mention it right now. If you go down to the paragraphs, it talks about the yields of the accounts, and we have both a money market account, known as the MMA, and we also have a checking account, and they both get very low rates of interest, as you can see. And so it's 0.3% annually for the MMA account and 0.1% annually in the checking account. And that's the question that we always get, sometimes from members of the public. And the answer to that is we are restricted by the RSA in terms of what we can invest in. And so you can't even invest in a regular MMA account. It has to be a restricted if you're interested in the MMA. Or excuse me, the RSA. I have a copy of the RSA right here. You can look at it if you'd like. But that's the main question that we always get. Certainly will entertain any other questions. If I can't answer them, we have Mr. Rosner here, who I'm sure can answer them.
We make payroll, so we're in good shape.
Any questions of the treasurer? None. Entertain a motion to accept his report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor, manifest by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. General authorization, Mark, you want to start off?
Yes,
Yeah, let me go start.
on your agenda, you'll see under general authorization, and we want to make some corrections to the agenda because some of the programs have changed. So we didn't edit it before it went out. We said we'll do it here so you can see the changes, and if you want, there can be an explanation. Authorization for the grant, the title grants, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Special Ed, and we're going to change No Child Left Behind, scratch that out, and it's now ESSA. Preschool grant, grants approved by individual boards, and we're going to cross out drug and alcohol related grants, and we're just going to add after individual boards and to all others. Some of the categories have been defunct. They're defunct now, so. And the No Child Left Behind Act has been replaced by Every Student Succeeds Act. Yes, so just wanted to call that to your attention. And so the next motion that you hear is sort of a canned motion that allows the superintendent, who's ever in that role, to sign off on all grants. Many of the grants now, as the chairs know, have to have the chair's signature as well. So there are some grants that I'll be signing by myself on your behalf, and other grants the chair will sign along with me. So, but the general authorization that Roger is going to read out to you, we ask that you make a motion and accept it, is just giving the authority to the superintendent to sign all the grant applications.
Roger?
I move the School Administrative Unit 48 Board authorize the superintendent and assistant superintendents on behalf of the board to enter into grant agreements and to execute all documents pertaining thereto.
We need second. Thank you. Move second. Any questions? All those in favor manifest by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Under reports.
Yes, members of the board, this is actually, I think, the best time of year because you get to hear all the fine work that everyone in our office is doing. And we also have some things for you to vote on. But each of the individuals that will be speaking to you tonight will issue a report from their individual world. So you really get an opportunity to see exactly what goes on in the office, other than having the superintendent take a nap every day. So I'm going to start out with Dan Rossner, who's our business administrator, and he has a report, and also he'll go into some of the other parts of the business where we need your approvals. Dan?
Thank you. So I hope everyone got a copy of my report, and it was circulated with the agenda. It's a full agenda tonight, so it's okay with everyone. I'll skip going through that on a line-by-line basis and go right into the business at hand for us in the business office. I will just reiterate what I said in the opening paragraph, which is we've got a tremendous team in the business office. It's a cohesive group. We work so well together and are so efficient and effective in performing the duties. I just feel really fortunate to have them all on our team. But the three items that are listed underneath the operations update are things that action items for tonight for your consideration. I'll start with number one, which is the food service bid. We, in all our districts now, contract with the food service management company for the overall operation of our food service programs. These contracts, by regulation with the state, have to be engaged. You're allowed to go out to bid and then have a one-year contract with up to 4 one-year extensions. The districts of SAU 48 are all over the place in terms of their timing. And so what we wanted to do as sort of an administrative efficiency initiative was get them all aligned on the same schedule. So we went through the process this past spring of producing an RFP, request for proposals, advertising it properly under the state authority and guidance, and then scoring the proposals that were received. We received 2 proposals, one from the current vendor, which is Cafe Services, and one from another vendor that serves schools in the New Hampshire, Vermont area called Abbey Group. Out of a total score of 100, our scores for the Abbey Group's proposal scored a 78, and Cafe scored an 81. And there are a variety of criteria. We can go through those if you want. My recommendation to you as a board would be to accept the proposal of Cafe Services, which would give us the power to enter into it. And they continue to provide separate budgets for each district independently, just to be clear, because that was critical, because you are all each independent districts with different measures and challenges. So our recommendation is to authorize us to enter into the agreement with Cafe Services. It would be a one-year contract with up to 4 one-year extensions. And I'd be happy to take any other questions you have about the programs.
Everyone seemed pretty happy with the vendor that we have now.
I-
What's the take in the schools?
So I think that probably the biggest challenges that we see are going to be having any vendor. I think there's a tremendous amount of difficulty when people who are not in a school environment try to understand the challenges of feeding breakfast for $1.50 a day or lunch for $2 a day to kids. And while complying with all the federal regulations about, the breadcrumbs on your chicken nugget has to be whole grain and stuff like that. So it's a challenge for any of these businesses, and communicating all those challenges with the parents and community is always difficult. I do believe, I can tell you from experience, that we've had some concerns from the Wellness Committee, which is the primary dialogue with the provider of the service in the last couple of years. We had a meeting, they're happy to send senior management down to meet with the Wellness Committee in the building. We had a great meeting in Plymouth just last fall. We have a meeting scheduled next week in Rumney with senior management Cafe Services and the Rumney Wellness Committee, and they're absolutely willing to address concerns and take the conversation. Sometimes the conversation isn't exactly what the Wellness Committee wants to hear. It's not going to be everything the kids want, because we still have to deal with these regulations, and we still have to deal with the economics of feeding kids on these tight budgets, if you will. But
Dan, can you tell us what some of the criteria you use to evaluate the scores are?
I'd be happy to. So on a total possible of 100, all right, we gave 20 points to the budget that was proposed, 10 points to their experience, references, and service capability, 5 points to their accounting and reporting systems, 10 points to the financial condition of the vendor proposing, 10 points to their personnel management and training materials, 10 points to their innovation, promotion, and marketing, 5 points to the stakeholder involvement, meaning how are they going to get involved with people like the Wells Committee, 10 points to their venues, the commodities, which is another federal program, 5 points to the recommended staffing, 5 points to the methodology they proposed on returns and discounts, 5 to their policy on code of conduct, and 5 to their policy on security procedures, for a total of 100 points.
Seems pretty well-rounded.
So I'm not going to take credit for it. That's the state recommended grid.
Yeah.
We have flexibility to alter it, but I find that things move more smoothly through the state approval process if you stick with their guidelines.
Any other questions of Dan? If not, I believe you're looking for a motion to... Yes.
Approve the cafe services proposal, that'd be great.
I'll make that motion to approve cafe services.
Who seconded that?
Moved and second. Any further questions? Not all those in favor, manifest by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Abstaining?
Makes sense. To be clear, Walton Valley is the one school district that doesn't participate in the program. Thank you. All set?
Yep, next one, go ahead.
Thank you. So earlier this fiscal year, we went under scrutiny of an audit by the state on federal funds and our administration of federal funds. This is something that 2 years ago the state was audited by the federal government as a pass-through entity, and was found to be, the state was found to be deficient in a number of ways, and this ties into, so that audit brought us to where we are now with the proposal in front of you. We were found to be compliant in terms of how we're controlling funds, in terms of how we're spending the funds, and all good news on the audit, with one exception, which was we were short on policy. And so what we've got in front of you tonight is a two-piece component. There's a policy called the Administration of Federal Grant Funds, which is a rather lengthy document. We got it, we sort of streamlined it to the extent that we were able to still be compliant. But it speaks within that policy, another part of the requirements is something called a purchasing procedure. So we've got two documents for you tonight, the policy itself and purchasing procedures. And these we've had reviewed by the new Bureau of Federal Compliance with that the New Department of Education, and they have pre-approved, if you will, these policies that we presented to you tonight and procedures that we presented to you tonight, and we would ask that you approve them for adoption.
Make that motion.
It's been moved.
Second.
Is that? How about some questions?
On the last page, it has first reading, second reading, that we does all those.
I think it has to be in place by a certain date.
June 30th.
By June 30th.
If we could go to one, just for one adoption, that'd be great, because if they're in place prior to July 1, it'll certainly be smoother with the combined votes. Thanks for pointing that out.
I was just curious on the process.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor, manifest by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? There you go, 2 for 2, Dan.
Thank you. So moving to the third item, the data and security policy. People may have heard something about this in the news. There was a recent legislation referred to as HB 1612, but it speaks to data governance and data security. You have in front of you a proposed policy, EHAB, data governance and security, and it's really an extraordinary amount of oversight that's now being required for virtually any technology you can think of. I will tell you that in addition to the approximately 10-page 10 pages of policy that are in front of you. It speaks frequently, just like the data governance manual. And that's what this beautiful 40-page document is. I have a number of copies here if anyone would like one. But by law, this policy and this manual needs to be presented to you, and the policy needs to be adopted, and the manual needs to be presented to you by June 30th of this year. So the state is taking not just internet security, but all files, all access, all equipment, all applications, and the administration and vetting thereof prior to being used in any school environment very seriously. And that's what this is all about.
So what does this cover? This covers the SAU documents? Does it cover the school documents? Does it cover the children's documents?
Our goal, if I can.
Go ahead.
Our goal is to have this policy and manual accepted at the SAU level to cover all districts. And that's what the policy speaks to, is that frequently in the policy it speaks about the SAU, but it also speaks to the districts within the SAU will do all these things. And so, for example, the information security officer shall be and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we have increasing requirements in terms of, so for example, we will frequently get a request. Now we get a request, before it used to just happen without requests. A teacher finds an application that they want to use and deploy with their students. And now there has to be a thorough vetting process and an inventory process for any sort of technology resource in the schools. Whether it be an app on someone's phone, that's even if it's a personal phone that connects to the district Wi-Fi system, anything that's accessible by the staff in the buildings or the students has to be vetted, inventoried, and accounted for. Does that make sense?
Is that the major change going forward, or is there more changes?
Yes, it's a major change, because people would just bring in apps and plug them in.
I understand, the teachers would have an app on an iPad, and they're using this, and so there was no more said on that.
Right, and that's what it is. So it puts in place both the infrastructure and a requirement for oversight that is new from the SAU.
Can I have one of the,
Absolutely.
one of the, I'm going to read it now. Thanks.
And that's intended to be a living document that'll evolve. And because of the time constraint we were under to get this in front of you folks, we want to make sure that as we move to deploy in this new direction, assuming that this board adopts these things, July 1 is our live go date as well, and that's when we're already increasing our oversight, but that's when the things have to go live in terms of the inventory management of these apps and processes and devices and all these technology resources.
So if a teacher wants to download an app for their classroom, they have to get approval from Mark?
They have to get approval from the information security officer,
Which
who's not
is
Mark.
who?
Well, in the short run,
Yeah.
it would be Carol Lavasser on
Okay.
behalf of all the districts, and she'll be paid an hourly rate for her work SAU-wide.
Okay.
And she does a lot of that for us now. She has her Plymouth job, and then she does other things. And then in the budget that I'll be presenting to you in the fall, there'll be a new position. We've patchworked this technology. We've patchworked since technology started coming, and now it's time that we've got to get serious. So, but that's how we're going to do it.
And will it be split between all of the districts?
Well, it'll be in the SAU budget, so it'll be broken out on the formula.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But it won't hold up student learning. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
A lot of our teachers were worried about apps coming in, and then how long does it take to get approved? Well, we've already contracted out with a company that has done all of the work. So it's going to be within a day that you can get that rolled out. So it's just making sure that we're not putting in student data into apps that aren't vetted, and then they're stuck in harboring that data. So we're protecting both the teacher and the kids at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question from a procedural perspective. If we adopt this today, do we then have to go to our boards and adopt it individually? We do it today, it's for each individual board as well?
It doesn't preclude a board from saying, can you put that on the agenda, and we can poke through it.
Okay.
But the wording is sort of, quite frankly, can't.
That's what.
But certainly you can spend time with it in your local districts.
Is there some sort of audit process that happens as a follow-up from someone to make sure that we're in compliance with this?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so internal audit is required depending on the component of the technology resource sphere, if you will. Depending on the component, there might be some components that were required to inventory annually. There's some, or an audit annually. There might be some components that were required internally to audit semi-annually. There's a requirement for a third-party outside audit to evaluate, I believe that's biannually. So there's absolutely an audit process and a validation process contained, spoken to in the governance manual.
So does that then happen at the SAU level, or does that trickle all the way down to our districts, that we get audited individually?
Our goal, as Mark is speaking to with the new position coming a year out from now, and or in the interim, in the first year with Kara from Plymouth, taking on some additional responsibilities at the SAU level, will be to handle that at the SAU level. It's not going to be an initial. Our goal is to not put, correct me if I'm wrong, our goal is to not put additional administrative burden on the school buildings. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Any other questions? No, I'm sure Dan's looking for a motion to accept this data governance and security policy.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Barry, second. Any further questions? Not, all those in favor manifest by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Dan, I suggest maybe every board walk out with one of those tonight.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just want to thank Dan for all his hard work this spring. These things sort of started coming out early in the wintertime from the state, and so we just took them, and Dan ran with them, worked with Kara, and he's done a really nice job. So publicly, I just want to say, Dan, thank you very much for that.
We got now, everybody.
I'm happy to email that or get additional copies to anyone.
I was going to say, can you send it electronically?
Sure. You know what we'll do, we'll send it to all 47 board members electronically. We'll get that done tomorrow morning. Those of you who want a hard copy, you certainly please take it.
Don't want a copy.
That would be me too. But
Great, sleep helps sleep aid.
I don't even understand it.
Yeah.
There'll be a quiz. We'll all be expected to remember where everything is at the next meeting.
We good? Dan, you all set?
Yes, sir, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your support.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Facilities update, Mr. Francis.
Well, good evening, everybody. I just want to start out by saying last year was exciting, challenging, frustrating, and tiring. But what I'd like to do is, I'm just going to go through the schools and talk about some of the light things we did last year and some of the things we're looking forward to do in the upcoming year. So I'm going to start off with Campton. And you'll notice some of the other schools for last year were a little on the quiet side because we were a little on the high side at the high school. So for Campton, we did an OT room last year. And then for this year, we're putting in a new phone system, and that is in preparation for the implementation of the new E911, which right now, the phone systems at all buildings, they identify the address of the school, but they're not identifying where that call came from within the building. Now, if the building was small, it's not that big a deal, but when you get into your larger buildings, it is a big deal. So we'll be putting in new phone systems. As you'll see, as I go down through some of the schools, some of their systems, the phones work fine, but they can't handle the implementation of the E911. So they'll be getting new phone systems this summer. At Holderness Central School last year, we did some security upgrades at their front entrance, which was exterior doors, interior doors, their office doors, video surveillance right at the front office with what a device we call the A phone, which allows them to actually see the person that's at the door and buzz them in from the front door. So there's kind of three stops that we're creating at the schools now. Most of the schools will be shifting into where you can't get in the front door. You have to be buzzed in the very front door, and then at that point you're locked in at the vestibule, and then it's determined whether you have need to come in further, or you can drop off what it is for Johnny or Sally, and out you go. The other thing for Holderness we did was exterior gate, and we seal coated the exterior of the building. For this year, we're going to be doing some roof coating. We're replacing a side entrance. We're going to be replacing the windows on the east side of the 90 wing. They'll be getting a new phone system, again, for the E911 implementation. And we're doing carpeting in the office, guidance, music room, library, computer room. And I'll be removing the elevator and turning it into a storage area. For Plymouth, last year we did 4 partition walls. I built a new greenhouse, which we're pretty much within the final finishing stages of that now. And I did already implement the E91 into their system. Their system could handle it, and they are up and running on that ID. For next year, the upcoming year for Plymouth, we're doing security upgrades at the front office, roof coatings, and 4 more interior partition walls. For the high school, last year we started and completed the CTC renovations. It was an $8.5 million project. That was, at this point, I want to talk to somebody that has worked with me all year and is going to be an employee in the SAU. It's Amy Ulrichsen, was just an absolute asset to me. I would not have survived it if I didn't have her. She was somebody I had eyed a couple years ago, and when the opportunity came that this was finally going to come to fruition, I approached her, and obviously it's been a really true match, and she's been a true asset to me, so I thank you very much for that. So the other things we did, we renovated the teachers' room, cafeteria, physical ed storage, and athletic storage. For the upcoming year, the high school will be doing security upgrades at the front and main office area. We'll be putting in a new phone system at the high school as well. Again, high school, 2 reasons. The system that's in play now is very antiquated and is showing signs of deterioration and beginning to give us trouble. But as well, in order to implement E911, we're going to be upgrading that system. We're also planning on doing some renovations in the library, the atrium entrance area, and our loading dock facility. For Rumney, we prepped a project for vote last year, which was a lot of work, a lot of traveling to Concord, a lot of people involved in designing and the paperwork at Concord. That went to vote in March. It's a $6.1 million project, and that will be taking place next year. We're just waiting final approval from the state budget committee, and we should be getting that approval in June, we hope. For Thornton Central School, last year we did significant roof upgrades and replacements, and we did grades K1 and 2 casework improvements. This year we'll be doing carpeting the office and guidance, changing out some interior doors. They again will be getting an E911 implementation. Their phone system was upgraded as well last year, so that system will handle this new implementation. And we'll be painting the gym. For Wentworth Elementary, put in a new fire alarm system last year when we carpeted the office, guidance, and media for last year. And then this year, right now in the docket, we're replacing the front doors, and we're going to be putting in a small washer dryer setup for that. And then for Waterville Valley Elementary School, they upgraded their playground area last year, which the board graciously allowed me to, they took a good big hand in that, so I did not have a big hand in that. So thank you very much to the Waterville Valley School Board for helping me with that, or basically taking care of that.
But we miss you.
I know.
He'll be back.
We have things.
And we'll be upgrading their service this year as well. The other thing that we did across the board, all schools this year, was we did lead water testing at all schools, and we also did radon air testing at all schools. And I'm planning on energy audits this year for Campton, Holderness, Plymouth Elementary, Thornton Central, and Wentworth Elementary. Those are the buildings that I want to start to attack their energy consumptions. So we'll start with audits, and then we'll put plans together on how we can implement the recommendations. So that was my year.
Can I ask who you're, do you have a consultant that's going to do the audits?
Yes,
Is that EEI?
yes,
You've used them in the past?
yes. This audit is free, so it gives us a baseline.
Free.
I'm well aware of where our weaknesses are, so, but it formalizes it, and then we'll push those documents out to the boards, and then hopefully at one of our next board meetings, we can begin to discuss implementation and how we can make these changes happen.
We have steadily done energy audits. You've had a lot of light upgrades, there have been a lot of upgrades in all of your buildings, but we just want to make a habit of this every few years because the technology changes so often in building and things. Mike?
Water testing, is that an annual thing that we're going to do now?
No, that lead testing is every 5 years,
Okay.
so we'll be good for 5 years.
Okay.
Did you find any issues with radon?
No.
Just out of curiosity?
No, I was thrilled.
I'm not
No.
surprised.
No.
Because if you can't explain the test, I mean, they closed up everything. So,
Yeah.
the old days, we'd open the windows and, okay, let's do the test.
It was a basic.
There's no more of that.
The test was done on a daily routine. The devices went in, stayed in for 3 days, and then were collected, and then they transport down to North Carolina, and then we got sent back the results. Did we push the results out? I think
No.
not yet.
No,
Okay.
no.
So we can push those results out to the boards just so you guys can see. I can actually give you the floor plans. I just pushed it off back to the state level because they're opening up this. This is going to be a new thing from the state, and they're opening up a division. And the person that's going to be taking that on, we sent him all our information and the floor plans of where we placed them. He's going to be having some brand new equipment that will even give us even tighter and even better results. So, but none of our results were above the heated mark. So, but definitely we'll push those out to you guys. So.
Again, I just want to say to John, thank you. John and I work together every day, and the addition of Amy Elrickson has only made us so much more efficient. And when you look at our facilities, we get more traffic now up here from school districts, and the state was up here 3 times this week. Every time I see those cars. People are coming to see how we do things here, and it's a tribute to everything that John has done over the years, and now with the addition of Amy. So, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Any questions of John? Well,
I'd love to get a tour at some point of this whole new fancy place that you work so hard on.
Anytime.
If you have a day, it's more fun touring when the kids are here.
Okay.
So if you have some time, and the principal now has it down to a science, it's only take you 3 hours to get. So, love to take all of you. You're all taxpayers. You're all paying for this. So, love to take anyone through. When we're finished, we will have an opening. The landscaping, as John said, we have some other things to do. There's another coating of pavement coming in, and so when we're done, we'll do something big for the public. But you're free, you just call and we'll get it taken care of.
Thank you.
Is everybody aware of the photographs that are in this room, what they represent?
go ahead.
So, here I go.
How many times did it take us to
We did, we got it done. So all these pictures are taken by the students, and there was many others, and these were the ones that were selected and then produced on, this is basically produced on metal. And each one of these pictures represents our sending districts. So we want, this is a community room, and we felt that we wanted to, yeah, so I mean, if we can start, we have Ellsworth here, and then the next one is Thornton, Ashland, Romney, and that's one of our teachers hanging on.
What a great quote. Is it really?
Yeah.
It's Jason Conway.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wentworth, Holderness, Waterville, Camden, and Plymouth. So, again, we're very proud of our students. We have some very talented people in the building, so, and they come from all of you. So, again,
Is
thank
that where you do your district meeting?
No, across the street.
Across the street.
That's actually a chapel. I've been inside it, it's beautiful. But across the street is the town hall. I'm showing my age, but if you ever saw the TV show Little House on the Prairie, that's their town hall. The desks are bolted to the floor, and there's a map up there that was produced. The west of the Mississippi had not been developed yet, and so they were territories. So it's an original map. It's really, really something. So, yeah. If you ever get to the top of Ellsworth Hill, you should go in the summer.
You can't go anywhere.
It can get tricky.
If you get to Romney, you've gone too far.
That's true. Come over the hill.
All right, next one is instructional updates from Tyler and Ethel. Apparently the reports are attached.
Reports were attached.
Would you like me to, okay, sure. Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for supporting all of our schools. We are lucky and so fortunate to have the amount of resources, and with everything going on with educational funding and cuts of teachers, I feel like we're in a bubble sometimes that we have not been affected by that. So that is, we're very fortunate to have that piece. I just wanted to go over a few of the pieces we've been working on this year. I won't read through my whole report, but we do a lot, so I just wanted to go over kind of the highlights. The first piece is safety and security is huge, as you know, both nationwide and here. All of our schools have safety committees that they meet probably once a month, if not more, with local law enforcement as well as the fire department. Every school has a manual that's a flexible document that updates as we need, especially with some of the new pieces like the active shooter drills, or what we should do with kids that are in kindergarten compared to kids that are at the high school level. So that's constantly updated and changing. Some of the technology we use to push out any alerts, you know, most of you have heard my voice in very early in the morning for snow days, but we use that for emergencies as well, and we try to send out just a tiered set of alerts, whether it be an email or a phone call as well. So we're tweaking that as we go. Some lessons we've learned to switch a little bit, and what we roll out to the community members as well. We also use what's called an alert app. So many of our teachers and administrators have an app that's also used at the college and at Holderness Prep School, and it's a GPS piece that if there is an emergency, you can hit it right off your phone. We've done it by mistake a few times, and it works very well. So it alarms any law enforcement in the area, from Plymouth State Campus Police to state troopers that live in the area, not on duty. And it just gives us quicker access to the buildings, especially for some of our rural districts. I mean, we have, you know, Wentworth, Romney, but when we've done it by mistake in Plymouth before, I think we got 4 towns that responded with under 2 minutes. So it's very effective. So that has worked very well. We have seen an increase in mental health issues across the SAU, as well as an increase in homeless students transferring from district to district. With that comes many resources that we have to tap into the community. So there's definitely been more wraparound services that we've been providing for kids, trying to get the local mental health agencies into our schools to maybe do some counseling instead of kids having to leave or parents unable to bring them to appointments. So we're trying to make it a little bit more inclusive without having to hire really additional staff to do so. So working with the hospital, working with Lakes Region, working with Katie right up the road, and then working with ADAPT. For those of you that don't know ADAPT, they have helped us. It's an adventure-based program where we've done some preventative work. Instead of doing the old traditional suspensions, they have alternative programming and therapy in the wilderness. So it's pretty cool to kind of see that piece and have some prevention and education instead of just having kids off for the day and then returning without any intervention. So that has been great. We have really implemented that more at the high school, and then same with the elementary schools as well, more of the middle school age. We talked a lot about data and security, so I won't go into those details, but we are fortunate to have most of our I would say all of our middle school students, and Ethel, tell me if I'm wrong, have access to a device at any time in all of our middle schools. So it's basically one-to-one across the SAU. 6th grade, and then basically up through 12th grade. All of our freshmen will come in with Chromebooks next year. Basically, we have shifted to this model instead of buying devices for every classroom. If every freshman gets a device, the end of life on that is about 4 years. So then we'll replace as they graduate, and then just every freshman class gets that piece. So that has been great.
Is that already happening now?
That is happening this upcoming year with all freshmen.
Will they be taking it home, or is it going to be on ground?
We're not finished with the policy yet with the high school board, Mike, but that'll be discussed.
All right. The other pieces, the arts are very important to us as far as music and the cultural arts was back at the high school this year. We really want to showcase the CTE Center, so we had the programs showcase while parents were walking around. I think the kindergarten art was in here. We had it through the hallways and all over, so we had a really great turnout for that. Same with the music collaboration in the gym. We've had our high school, how many high school chorus have? Over 80 participants in the high school.
In the chorus, it was 90.
Yeah, around 90. So our music program is just exploding. Same with the arts. So we've been fortunate that our high school teachers and middle school teachers work together all the time to either collaborate, and I'm sure you've seen performances with middle and high school students, not just at Cultural Arts Night, but at some of the sending schools as well. It's same with collaborative art projects. We've had kindergarten students work with high school students. There was a project done at Plymouth with the portraits in kindergarten, so that has been great. We have rolled out the Common Report Card this year, which is something we did last year. Several years ago, we were looking, every school kind of did their own thing as far as curriculum and measuring against certain specific standards. So we developed common standards across the SAU. It can be implemented in any way that you'd like to implement them, but all kids should be on level playing fields when they get to the high school. So we've started with K-4 with the option of 5. We had our first year of implementation. We're tweaking that a little bit, but that seemed to work very well. We're separating out academic standards from work habits. So part of what we've been working on at the high school is vision of a graduate and what we're looking for from our students after high school. So we're giving them some of those pieces at the elementary school, meaning creativity, collaboration, so they're being measured on some of the soft skills rather than just the effort. So we're getting a little bit more specific with that piece. Statewide assessments, we still have to do the statewide assessments. We're in our second year. The state changed them last year. Grades 3 through 8 and 11 take reading, writing, math. Grades 5, 8, and 11 take the science assessment, and then the juniors now take the SAT as their statewide assessment, which is actually pretty helpful because they can all use that going into whatever they're doing after high school. We are now implementing in 8th, 9th, and 10th grade the PSAT, so it gives kids plenty of times to take it instead of getting to their junior year and taking it once. So we're providing some SAT prep and starting in the 8th grade as far as how to take assessments like that, so we can give them that advantage for that piece. That's all I have for right now. Oh, one more thing. We're excited that, so for our middle schools, I know I've shared this with the boards that I oversee. In 8th grade, we'll be able to give credit for Algebra 1 if students take that, or any world language. So if they take French 1 or Spanish 1, they'll be able to receive credit for that, and it will follow the same standards as the high school too, so we're working on that piece, so kids can come up to the high school with 2 credits already, so.
The grade won't come on to the transcript because it wasn't awarded here at Plymouth Regional High School, but the credit will be there on the...
It will just be as a credit,
Right.
yep. Great, so thank you again. Any questions? Kelly?
I have one quick comment. When you raised the issue of mental health services, when I went to our Campton Town budget hearing, it's Lakes Region Community Services, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So a representative from Lakes Region Community Services was there, and she presented, this is basically Campton's share per capita of use of our services, and it was something in the range of, this is really off the cuff, but $32,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what Campton was allocating in its budget to Lakes Region Community Services was maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000 at the most. So the point was made there, and then at our town meeting, we just turned around and allocated the same $1,000 or $2,000, but they're very underfunded for what they're providing for services to our communities. So I'm definitely going to pay attention to that a little bit more for my town process next year, and I'd encourage everyone else to do the same, so that we can really look at how our towns are contributing to the services we're receiving that are badly needed.
The high school works with Lakes Region Services when students leave the high school and transition into adult services. We work with them an awful lot, and they do a really nice job with that transition, as I think our folks do a terrific job, but I think it's a pretty easy transition.
We work with Genesis quite a bit too for some of the counseling in the schools and getting kids help. Yeah.
Ethel?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, and thank you so much for your continued support in all of our communities. The report I will not read, but I'm going to just go over some highlights for you. I'm really excited about our Gen Yes student technology leaders in our schools that I reported on last year. It was brand new. We had 3 schools, Plymouth Elementary, Campton Elementary, and Plymouth Elementary, get on a bus and go to the Krista McAuliffe Technology Conference and presented a showcase. The kids just loved being there, and they had all kinds of teachers from all over New Hampshire come and ask them about Gen Yes and what are they doing in their schools to support the students and the teachers, and it was remarkable. And so we're hoping that again this coming year, and I just talked with the facilitator for Gen Yes at Plymouth Elementary, and she's excited about putting in a request to get approved again. It's a process you go through to be able to present at Krista McAuliffe, and it was really exciting for the students and for us as adults that were there with them. Our schools this year supported a week-long residency with children author Patricia Polacco, and I had the joy of spending the whole week with her in every school. I just said to central office, I'm not coming in this week, and off I went to schools. She's written over 110 children's books, and she's illustrated them. Her doctorate is in art education. She was phenomenal, and the kids and the teachers really enjoyed everything that she shared with them, and they're still talking about it today. I met with the Title I teachers this afternoon, and they said, we can't believe what she did for us and for our students. It was wonderful. And that was all funded through Title I and 2A grants. We continue with our maker spaces in all of our schools, libraries, classrooms, sometimes in the science rooms, wherever the maker spaces will work. And it's just inventing and learning and exploring. It's just great for the kids and for the teachers. It's hands-on. You can say STEM, STEAM, anything you'd like to say, but the maker space is really, the students really love that. We're still doing our robotics education with grant monies this year. Students have a chance to actually go and compete on teams. Then our summer enrichment programs. This will be the first summer that we've had Title I summer school in all of our schools. So it will be brand new for Holderness and brand new for Clinton for summer school, and that's for our Title I population. Again, that's all grant funded through Title I and the reallocation grants that we just received this week. Professional development. We have a team of teachers from every single school that come together monthly to meet and talk about professional development. And I'm excited to say that the New Hampshire Department of Education did approve our 5-year plan that goes through June 2023. So we're good to go for a few years. And the Professional Development Committee is a very serious committee that really works hard to be sure that we have all kinds of workshops available for all the teachers. We have this platform called My Learning Plan where the teachers ask for approval to go to workshops and conferences. And some of those were Responsive Classroom, Google, and the Education Summit that happens every July. We've always had teachers going. We have teachers going this summer. It's really a great summit. It's always in New Hampshire, which is really nice. And then we have teachers going to Columbia University for the Literacy, Reading, and Writing Project Institutes. And I've heard those are phenomenal as well. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that we have a strong professional development school. It's called PDS, partnership with Plymouth State University. What that means is that we have interns that come in from Plymouth State and work with our teachers that are known as mentor teachers. And we had 29 of our teachers this past year mentor Plymouth State University interns. And that has been extremely successful as well. So the mentor stipends or vouchers for graduate level courses or cash if they prefer that instead of a graduate level course have made a difference for our teachers, and we've really worked hard to make that all happen. Any questions? What I have? Oh, the green sheet is the money. You always like to see what kinds of projects are we doing under Title I, Title II, and Title IV. That's new money this year. Enrichment grants. That's what they call it. Student support and academic enrichment grants. And we do a lot with the Title I. That's how we got our author in residence here. And the books for all the libraries and the classrooms and for the students. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So somebody's in place to do this after you leave?
Yes.
Hope so.
Well, it's an impossible position to be put on the agenda after Apple. Right. So it's my second year as the Director of Student Services, and I want to state that I'm just really happy to have the support of the SAU and all the school boards for our special needs students. We really run a fine program for our students with disabilities. Student Services also covers students with 504 plans, students who are ESOL, so English is a second language, and then also students who have court-related referrals, which we've definitely seen a lot of this year. As far as staff, we just had 2 faculty changes this year, which was really great. Tara Talamini joined Waterville Elementary, and she's doing a really fine job. She comes with a lot of experience. And Sean Haskins joined Plymouth Elementary as the special ed coordinator. That is a new position for Plymouth right now. And Sean was also, I'm really happy to say, nominated by the New Hampshire SPED Administrators Association as an emerging leader in special ed. So really, he's doing some really quality work over there. I do Child Count October 1st, and so does the DOE as well. We had this year 348 students on IEPs, 100 at the high school, 230 at the elementary level, and 18 at the preschool level. And in October, we had 10 students out of district, 1 who was court-placed, and 6 students at the charter school that we were providing special ed services to, and 17 ESOL students. One of the, I think one of the difficult things, because we are such a large SAU and have so many schools, what can be kind of hard sometimes for our special ed teachers, especially I call them the singletons, one special ed teacher in one school, is making connections with other professionals and getting professional development too. It's stressful for our teachers sometimes to go out for PD because they have a whole caseload of students that they need to work with on a daily basis. So I did 2 things this year. The focus was to get them all together. So aside from the trips that I do over to the schools regularly, monthly, more than monthly, I also pull them all together as a group, all of the case managers are at SAU, to do all kinds of meetings and updates and give them time to collaborate with each other, share materials and resources, which has been really great. So if somebody has a math program that you want to try, you can borrow it rather than buy it and decide, oh, I like that or I don't like that. So a lot of that has happened this year, which has been really nice. That saves us all a lot of money if somebody's got something in the closet that somebody else wants. So that's super. The other thing is I pulled professional development into the district for them. They've been coming after school bi-monthly for professional development. And I focused this year on know and tell training, which is how to report child abuse, youth mental health first aid training, which is obviously a really hot topic in our area, mental health. They were trained by the DOE on specially designed instruction. They had human learning tools training, high leverage practices, and social change. So the feedback that I solicited through a survey was that they thought that was really positive to have that model, to be able to have some really great PD here in-house. So I'm going to continue that next year. The DOE, the Bureau of Student Support, which used to be the Department of Special Ed, now it's called the Bureau of Student Support, monitors us on 2 things. 5 indicators that they look at, and then also, do we have any complaints in our schools? They compile that data, and that drives, if we're selected, if a district is selected for compliance and monitoring. So once that's all reported out, you get a score. 0 is your best score. So if you had no complaints, no issues, all of our districts in the SAU received a 0. So it's the one time the 0 is an awesome score. So none of our districts are selected for compliance and improvement monitoring for 19 and 20. So and I intend for that just going like that, obviously. It really is attributed to the hard work that our special educators do. There's so much pressure on them for compliance. So many hoops that they have to jump through, reports and dates and timelines that they have to fulfill, and sometimes it's really challenging, especially over the winter when we have a lot of snow days, to get things done within that timeline. So I'm really proud of them and thankful for that. The other aspect that I will talk about is the IDA grant. We consolidate our grant, consolidated it's $535,807, and the preschool grant was just under $13,000. I work with the superintendents and the building administrators and the special ed teachers to talk about what we're spending the grant on. We've done a lot of different things. We paid for computers and workshops, our preschool and out-of-district coordinator salary and benefits, contracted services for autism, testing, paraprofessionals, homework club, crisis prevention training. So you just use it for a lot of different things. We were just reallocated money from, you probably heard about it on the news, unspent money in special ed. I'm proud to say that we have no unspent money. We spend our money right now. We work hard on that. But others didn't. And the state has rolled it over for years. And so they went to the Fed and said, we would like to do something with this money that's unspent. So they looked at 2 factors. One was your student population, and they had another formula for poverty. And so that pool of money was split out amongst all the districts in New Hampshire. And we ended up with, I would say, I think it was about 117,000 combined. So we have time to spend that, and I'll be working with the administration to figure out what we'll do with that too. So that's where we are.
Thanks, Kim.
Yep, medical service
Yes, I'm
coordinator.
going to step in for John Bruley tonight, and just to remind you, this is a position that was created a couple of years ago to comply with the statutory requirement that schools monitor concussions. And we expanded that model. John was our athletic trainer under the co-curricular piece of the high school budget, and then was working in the building as a special ed aide. He's a certified trainer and has some advanced training in medicine as well. But what we did was we put together a job description which you approved, and he is sort of not only the concussion coordinator, but also the wellness person who makes sure that the connections between the pediatrician's offices and school nurses and home, with the idea of consolidating the use in the medical offices, as well as efficiently using whatever insurance monies or monies that families would have to pay. So it really has worked out well. I'm really excited about looking at the concussion levels. As you can see, the first year we began to monitor, we had 55, and then 62, and 33. These are not athletic concussions only. These are car accidents, fall off the bike, fall off the swing at the school. So these are the concussions throughout our system. But we are pleased with the drop, obviously, at the high school. We do some impact baseline testing, so all of our, I think we're down into the middle schools now, all of our middle school students. So we have a baseline, and then if there's a concern about a possible concussion, we do some retesting. So he's done 555 tests this year. And then and the rest of the report speaks for itself, but I'm very pleased with everything that John has done, particularly in the buildings and wellness programs with our employees. It's important for us to minimize absenteeism and time out of the building, because that really affects learning. And John's done a really nice job bringing Health Trust up here with all of their programs that our subscribers have access to. So John has done a nice job with them. So it speaks for itself. I think you should be very proud of the fact that you're a real leader in this state in terms of concussion management and prevention. And I think it's a model that many school districts are beginning to look at. And we're now doing some rehabilitation of student athletes from injury in our schools during the school day if they have a free period. So, and that obviously is monitored by orthopedic offices and things like that. But John makes sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing here. So that's John's report. And again, I publicly thank John for the good job that he's doing for us.
Good. Any questions on that report?
Do you know what contributed to the drop in the concussions? Was it, what were the prevention?
I think honestly, I think it's been head injuries. I think that just we've had fewer dings to the head in a lot of sports. I mean, people are right away say, well, that must be football. Well, we're looking at soccer and lacrosse as being the leaders in that area. So I think he's working with our coaches. And I think we've had fewer skiing accidents this year too. We had a rash of them last year, and I think that we've been fortunate this year.
Next item is general discussion, which is the personnel issues will be taken up in non-public. But dates for this?
Yes, I think as a handout or was sent out to you, the dates for the budget process in our winter meeting. I'll meet with the officers in late October, early November. There'll be an opportunity for the full board to preview the budget on Thursday, November 14th in this room. And then we would have our public budget hearing on Thursday, December 12th at 6 p.m., somewhere in this building. And then the snow date being the 19th. Fortunately, it's been a number of years since we needed that backup date, but you have to sort of plan for the unexpected, so we'll do that. And before we go, Mr. Chairman, I just would like to publicly thank Ethel. This is Ethel's 29th year in SAU 48, and it's their 16th year as the assistant superintendent. Did I get that right, Ethel? Last time I said that, I was a year off. Ethel has a great following of teachers that really rely on her professional development, and she is clearly the person from our office who's in the buildings the most, just by the role that she plays in professional development, working with teachers. She's happiest working with teachers and providing instruction to kids and teachers. And I don't know what you're doing with that cat in the hat uniform you have.
I'm going into the schools and inviting.
So I do want to remind you, we're having a reception for Ethel, a public reception for Ethel on Thursday, May 30th, and that'll be down at the Bistro on South Main Street between 4 and 6 o'clock. So if you have some time, it's an opportunity to come down. You'll see an awful lot of folks. In fact, I hope we can get everybody in, or they'll come and they'll go. But it'll be an opportunity for us to say thank you to Ethel for all her years of service. And Ethel will be has been invited to give the commencement address to the senior class at this year's high school graduation, which is, I think, on June 8th. So, Ethel, thank you. Thanks for everything.
All right. We need to go into non-public for personnel issues that are listed.
Yes.
Do that by a motion and a second and by roll call.